Hi everyone, it's Nina Zarowski and I'm here today with Curt Meskus, the building commissioner. Hello Curt.
Hi, how are you, Nina?
I'm good, how are you?
All right, so that usually confuses people because they say,
Yes.
who is the building commissioner? Well, most people call me the building inspector,
Inspector.
but the title is building commissioner, and I'm certified by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts as a building inspector and a building commissioner that runs an office with a local inspector, who is called the local inspector. My other job is zoning enforcement. Okay, so the town of Charlton has a zoning scheme that tells us what can be placed where and what activities can go there. And the building part of it is public safety or life safety in the built environment. So what do? I talk to a lot of people. And they come to us with projects,
Yep.
Either a single family home or as big as the Amazon project that's currently going on in town. And I look at whether that's an allowed use there, whether the property is the right size, whether there's other regulatory agencies that need to have actions on this property. So a single family home, pretty easy. We have a lot of wetlands in town, so water. So now we get into conservation issues, so I interface with that department, make sure that those issues are taken care of before we issue a building permit. You got to have a means of sewage disposal. So now I get to interact with the Board of Health because they do septic systems. Now, some places in town we have municipal sewage, so then we interface with the water and sewer department. The Board of Health also deals with residential wells or wells on the property, but we also have some municipal sewage. So when you take all of those pieces together, you can develop a scheme of what is easily constructed or permitted in a certain zone or a certain location. And sometimes it becomes prohibitive either because there isn't enough water available for fire protection or domestic use, or the land is not suitable for sewage disposal. And wetlands seems to come up on at least every other project in Charlton. Charlton has got a huge amount of wetlands. Some of them are very easily identifiable. The lakes, those are a wetland. But some of them are sort of squishy spots in the backyard that people don't realize that they are a protected
I have one of those.
area. So we try and look at all that as the people go through the process of developing their project and send them to the different departments. Planning board is a big deal in the system. Planning board is the people that recommend zoning to the town body for adoption. And they also then sometimes have to do site plan review to ensure that the project fits in the site and drainage and sewage is taken care of. Stormwater management is a really big issue now. The town of Charlton has to comply with stormwater management, federal mandates now to deal with our runoff off of our roads and such. So we know a little bit about a lot of things. And I get to know about some other projects, and sometimes I'm lucky and I can get a couple of projects that people are talking to me about come together. So we had a really good win for the community when St. V's Hospital was building their building at what we used to call the Snell's Court. They needed fire protection water. And I knew that there was another project coming up there, which is now Rain for Went, that needed fire protection water. And one of our very homegrown local companies, MTD, was going to do an expansion. And they needed fire protection water. So I got the developer of that project. I says, look, I know all these people have been talking about these projects. Go talk to each other and see if it's advantageous for you guys to band together and sort of diversify the cost of the water line that had to be installed for that. So we have some, municipal water is great. It's limited. The amount of it is limited. It's limited to some areas, and Peter Boyer, the water superintendent, I hear he's going to be talking to you too. So they're working on some projects to get Charlton its own water system, because we have a water pipe that runs from North Side Road almost all the way to the Oxford line that is not usable at this time. And they're looking for ways to activate that, provide water to that, so The industrial park could expand, other businesses could come in
Yep.
that need fire protection water or just drinking water. So
Well,
that's
that
sort
sounds
of
like a
me
lot.
yapping for a little bit.
Yeah, but that's like
So-
a really good overview. But how did you get into this position? Like,
So-
what made you do it?
I was a residential builder.
Yep.
My brother and I were partners in a construction company.
Yeah.
And I I had to know the code, the building codes, you know, to know how to comply with the rules. And for some reason, I'm blessed with the ability to remember little bits and pieces. Now, I don't memorize the code.
Yeah.
I know that there's probably an answer in there somewhere. And by using the index or
Yeah.
using the table of context, so all codes are set up in a sort of a sequence. There's an administrative section, there's a definition section, and sort of the building code, okay, it starts and talks about foundations, and then it talks about floors, and then it talks about walls, and then it talks about roofs, and then all the doors and windows that go in
Yeah.
there. So, you know, on the residential side, it's pretty prescriptive. You can, what we call, build the house out of the cookbook.
Yeah.
But when we do big commercial buildings like Amazon, no, engineers and architects design that to a performance standard.
Yep.
And I look at all the plans, all 700 pages of them. But Amazon's a rinse and repeat,
Yeah.
right? Floors 2 through 5 are the same. It's just we stack it up.
Yeah.
So once you get a lay of the land, but when we're dealing with professionals on that size project, they've done this before.
Yeah.
Okay, a house, some people take it on as their own. We tell them that they should hire professionals that know what they're doing, but you can build a house as a homeowner.
Yeah.
And then the medium-sized projects, those in between, they get a little squishy because they're not single-family homes anymore, even
Yep.
though they're built out of wood, because we jumped out of that 1 and 2 family code book
Yep.
into the other code book. And it can get complicated fast.
Yeah.
You know? So
But-
I'm looking at life. Can people get out of the building safely? Can they be notified if there's a problem in the building? Does the building require fire protection because of either the people that are in the
Yep.
building or the size of the building or the hazards that are in the building?
Yep.
So different buildings have different
Different-
hazards.
Exactly.
Treehouse Brewery brews beer. Wow, amazing. So beer has got a little bit of alcohol in it.
Yep.
Not a lot, less than 16%. But they also opened a distillery. Okay,
Yeah.
well, distillery, when you're distilling spirits, it starts out at like 90% alcohol. That's very
high.
flammable.
Yep.
And that required a whole different set of thinking and components because of that. The air exchange and all of that
Yep.
stuff in there. Ethanol, part of alcohol, lays near the floor.
Yep.
Okay, so the electrical system had to take that into consideration. So I work with the electrical inspector who does that work, and he inspects that. And then we have another facility in town that works on trucks that are run by compressed natural gas.
Yep.
Well, compressed
to look at
natural
that,
gas
too.
is another hazard,
Yep.
but it's lighter than air. So flammable area is
Yep.
up near the ceiling. So all the explosion-proof, vapor-proof stuff is up on the ceiling.
So there's a lot of different
There's
puzzle
a lot
pieces,
of,
I guess you could say.
and
yeah.
you just slowly puzzle your way through it. The thing that I've been trying to work with, and Randy Benson, the planner, and everything, I talked to the planning board, is some of these medium-sized projects, the smaller to medium-sized projects, we're trying to develop a way that if I want to open a little coffee shop, it's not quite as onerous as having to do a full site plan review, right? We have some
Exactly.
existing buildings in town
Yep.
that, because we didn't have comprehensive zoning until 1987, had no site plan review. They exist, and
Just no plan.
no
Yeah.
plan, and so it is onerous sometimes, or it is more complicated
Yep.
than people think. I said, I want to open a coffee shop. Okay, okay. Well, you got to deal with the Board of Health and Food. Okay, you have to deal with sewer and water.
Yep.
You have to deal with parking,
There's
and
multiple.
you have to deal with paving.
Exactly.
And then you're going to end up dealing with conservation because of stormwater management. So you know,
Harder than it actually seems, for sure.
it is.
Yeah.
And
steps.
unfortunately, you know, and people say, well, what can I do? And I usually have to say, it depends.
Because it always does for every situation. It's always
Right.
different.
They're all
Yeah.
very unique, and
Yeah.
so that's it. So I try. You know, sometimes people don't like the answers I give, but I'm giving a consistent
Yeah.
answer based on the rules.
Exactly. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
And one more question
Sure.
is, I know that the Amazon is already a working project currently in Charlton, but is there any other projects that are going to be happening or are currently also happening or in the
Well,
future?
there's another warehouse project
Yep.
down at the Sturbridge line that has a
Yep.
site plan approval. They've been working with the MassDOT, the highway people, to get their road access permits straightened out. And they need to have that. They are looking at tenants, but that's an
Yep.
approved plan that the planning board did before Amazon. They were ahead of us. There's a company proposing a gas station on Sturbridge Road or Route 20.
Yep.
They've gone through a couple different iterations of their site. They've given us the third revision, and we're reviewing that now for compliance.
Yep.
But we hope that they can develop that site. It's a little bit tough because it's got existing pavement,
Yeah.
but it's a change of use, and it has stormwater management complications
Yeah.
to it.
So again with the puzzles.
With the puzzles, and you know, we work in our silos of expertise, and we all talk to each other, and we all try and do that. So, you know, there's rumors of projects and people that I do talk to,
Yep.
but until it is applied for, it's really not public knowledge.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have to say, I can't tell you about that yet.
Well, that's okay. Hopefully we'll hear about it soon.
All right.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Curtis.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank
It's a nice
you.
day.
Beautiful day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.